Hello everybody, welcome back to Level 1 News. Today is May 13th, and we are doing, security and nonsense.
And as usual, in fact, we've talked about this in almost every section because it's not just about security, but apps. Apps are bad. They are bad for you because what do? They track you. They share your information. They get leaked. They get downstream attacks.
And they're not really worth it most of the time. They don't offer enough utility.
You can almost always do the same thing on the web. Almost always, even though they make it annoying. So be careful about apps.
Grindr's data sharing problem is bigger than Grindr. A new investigation revealed that the gay dating app has been pawning off the locations of its clientele via brokers for years.
Anonymized data, but of course we gotta always do the disclaimer. There is no such thing.
Hey Bob, I've got all this anonymized data, and there's this data point with GPS coordinates right at your desk.
This person frequents this cafe a lot. Probably this person.
Yeah. Says this person's been going to the furry supply store and the manhole almost exclusively. Who could that be? But you might be thinking to yourself, well, that doesn't affect me because I'm not on Grindr. Well, do you have mental health problems? Because we all do. I would not trust those to an app either.
Mental health apps have terrible privacy protections, the report finds. And in the subtext here, lumping in, mental health apps with other kinds of apps, prayer apps were also worse than other categories.
I don't understand prayer apps.
I don't get a lot of these app ideas. Like, just use a journal. Like your ancestors before you.
Was it the report that we did a year or two ago that strongly suggested government contractor ties to one of those, like, which way is Mecca apps?
Oh yeah.
No, it wasn't that. It was they were being tracked. Wasn't I think like Israel was.
Yeah.
They were tracking the Palestinians with the prayer app. I don't know if that's exactly true. I'm pretty sure that's what it was though. It was definitely like a higher authority who was using it to try and track terrorist activity, which requires you to assume that everybody using that prayer app is a terrorist.
Mental health and prayer app. I was like, wait.
And gay sex. Well, Russia, we have learned from the war, if you didn't already know, they have no problem with just taking their youth and using them as cannon fodder or labor or what have you. And one way of doing that is to lock you up. Hey, you're going to have to go to jail. Do you have a skill? Because then maybe you won't have to break rocks. Maybe you can do something else.
Russia to rent tech-savvy prisoners to corporate IT, ? At least, this is from Brian Krebs, and he's looking at this saying, maybe they could run a call center. Maybe they could run tech support. Maybe they could answer tickets.
Well, they got some quotes in here from some high-ranking Russian people who are kind of like, that's not a bad idea. Maybe we should do that.
To be fair, I mean, the U.S. kind of does that. Not for high-ranking work, but usually like factory work.
Making paint and license plates and crap like that.
And it is optional, but I think most prisons make it pretty miserable to be a non-worker.
Yeah.
They really encourage that.
In Prison Architect, they really do prefer having a job. Because they want to spend money on the concession stand.
Not only that, but I think having a job is probably better than doing nothing all day, right?
Yeah.
I mean, Wendell.
Yeah.
They could give you a job doing literally anything, and you would do that over sitting in a room by yourself all day.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, it would be very bad very fast.
You get fired from the IT job, though, because you would then, you'd tell them something they didn't want to hear, and you'd be adamant about it, and they'd send you right back to your cell.
That's definitely one way to crush my spirit.
Don't mention that. They're farming this right now.
It's like, but you're about to do something stupid, and it's like, I don't want to hear that. And it's like, but isn't the goal to not be stupid? Why are you doing this?
And what you just described there seems like a perfect microcosm of the Russian political leadership. A lot of political leadership, admittedly, but specifically so. The way they command that army is just baffling.
Yeah. I don't know anything about military strategy, but it seems like they do the wrong thing routinely over and over again.
It's perfect strategy if it's still World War II days.
Well, cyber stalking is something that's really, really becoming a huge issue because as technology gets better, we're figuring out, hey, here's a crazy idea. If the people in charge did nothing but invent tracking technology for a decade, it might eventually bleed over into the populace. So now you got angry ex-boyfriends and girlfriends, I'm sure, who are tracking people. It's awful. Apple says we got to do something about this, so they rolled out an update, but in Apple fashion, screwed it up terribly.
Apple thinks my own AirPods are stalking me. Apple software doesn't always know how to identify my stuff, even if it's registered in the cloud as mine.
Yeah. So this guy had AirPods. He did the security update, and they're like, "Oh, someone's stalking you," and he like, "Oh God."
Oh no.
So he went through all his stuff, and trial and error, he figured out, yeah, it's his AirPods in his ears. Apple thought those were stalking him.
I mean,
someone is tracking you based on those, but it's Apple.
I like the strategy maps in Europe that are like, oh, the stolen Ukrainian AirPods are now here, well inside the border.
Yeah, they're doing that for recycling too, and proving that most recycling is fake.
Yeah.
I hate that.
This is a terrifying security story because it's one of those security stories where they don't really tell you how to protect yourself from it or exactly what it can do. They just tell you that it's really bad and really powerful, and have fun sleeping.
Botnet that hid for 18 months boasted some of the coolest tradecraft ever. So this is a botnet that was hiding in wireless access points and Internet of Things devices. And it was doing so very carefully, very surreptitiously, and being very careful not to disrupt a normal operation of whatever the devices were. So the people that had control of the devices could use them without being detected. And because it's Internet of Things devices, it's sort of operating outside of most of the logging and detection facilities. So it's a very sophisticated, very advanced platform that's doing this with relatively meager computational requirements because, you know, an access point doesn't really have a lot of spare computational horsepower.
So yeah, could be in your system. You don't know.
Neat.
Have fun with that knowledge. And GitHub, we have learned that these supply chain attacks and poisoning the packages and stuff like that, GitHub is a very, very bad place for poor security. So finally, after Minecraft already did it, they've decided to take this step.
GitHub will require all code contributors to use two-factor authentication. That should help prevent things from being surreptitiously submitted, I guess, or somebody taking over somebody's account and then saying, oh, oops.
But they also, remember the report about how a lot of the domains from the registered emails don't actually exist?
Yeah.
There is no way to two-factor that account.
Yeah.
You have to rebuy the domain, assuming it's still available.
Womp womp.
And remote lockout. This is we didn't do this one last week, did we?
We did.
Oh, we did?
Did we? Oh, shoot.
Or wait.
I think we talked about it ourselves.
Yeah,
I don't think we put it in there.
Yeah, we
There was a
might have.
dedicated article about it this week.
But yeah, this is terrifying. It's a feel-good story, but
It's a feel-good story about the terribleness that is the Internet of Things.
yeah, and it's going to be all of our cars pretty soon.
Remote lockouts reportedly stopped Russian troops from using Ukrainian farm equipment that was stolen. Troops hauled the inoperable equipment as far as 700 kilometers away. It won't start. Won't start or operate. They've been remotely disabled.
Which, yeah, again, in this use case is fine, but what happens when that happens elsewhere?
A lot of this stuff ended up in Chechnya. And I'm also surprised, not really surprised, disappointed that things like, oh, this grain silo has been targeted by missiles. Like, why are we blowing up grain silos?
Oh, you're getting into conspiracy territory. You're not supposed to talk about the fires. Those aren't real.
Or the
remember?
food shortages that are probably coming.
But apparently Chechnya was the place to go to ship your loot home. There's been a lot of looting. Like, the Russian state has accomplished very little, but I feel like the individual soldiers, if they manage to survive, they're getting so much loot.
You don't get to keep it, though.
They've got the problem that I have when I'm playing games. It's like, I'm over encumbered. I can't.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, you have such a loot problem. But they do get to keep it, Krista, because what they do is they fall back into Chechnya and ship it home via the mail. So everybody at home's getting packages of, like, just fun Ukrainian
AirPods,
loot.
iPads,
Laptops, yeah.
Yeah, I'm sure there's some air tags in there.
toilet seats. A lot of toilet seats.
Oh, so this story is great because let's go back and let's think about, Grindr and all those places where it's like, oh, that's anonymized data. Don't worry about that. It's anonymous. We can't really figure anything out from that. Except Amazon can figure out a lot from it.
Researchers find that Amazon uses Alexa voice data to target you with ads. Amazon and third parties use data from smart speakers to sell you stuff. Are you ripping out your smart speakers now?
You shouldn't have had them in the first place. You've been watching this show for a while.
Chances are your phone is doing it also.
No.
Krista, you should get one of these married skeleton things here.
Yeah, what a bizarre image. A married. I guess that's probably like a cake topper, right? From the wedding.
That would have been great if you would have had that.
I don't remember what we used as a cake topper at ours. I don't think we did anything real crazy.
You should have done Lord of the Rings based.
We did cupcakes. We didn't do an official cake.
Oh yeah, I didn't try the cupcakes.
The cupcakes were really good. Lemon blueberry was my favorite.
It's a weird combination.
But surprisingly good.
Well, we've learned that the NSO group, they say they don't sell their software to anybody that shouldn't have it, and yet world leaders, one after the other, just keep finding it on their phones. What gives there? Well, we don't know that, but we do know the steps they've taken to try and soften their image in the past.
Private equity executives sought to undermine NSO critics, data suggests. All that data from all those things, they're tracking you.
What a great photo for the article where he's doing the air quotes.
Well, this is the guy from Citizen Lab. Now, Citizen Lab is the thorn in the paw of the NSO group because he is doing all kinds of research, uncovering all the horrible stuff. So what they did...
Install Pegasus.
They went back... Well, I'm sure it's on his phone. Yeah. They went into his past and they're like, okay, he went to this university. What did he do here? Go, private investigator, go look at it. They found out he had a mentor at that university. They found him and hired him purely for the purpose of trying to get this guy to stop. So once he was approached, he was like, nah, bro, we ain't that good of friends. And that guy eventually apologized, left NSO group, and was like, I'm sorry I ever did that. That was obvious what we were doing. But it already ruined the friendship.
Wow.
Because again, when you can install spyware on an arbitrary iPhone anywhere in the world, come on.
Well, GitHub is going to force two-factor authentication. I think most serious websites will eventually do that if they have not already, which makes this announcement interesting because Apple, Google, and Microsoft have reinvented the password, except it's two-factor authentication, except just remove one of the factors. This is one-factor authentication. Isn't that a step back?
Apple, Google, and Microsoft want to kill the password with Passkey standard. Instead of a password, devices can look for your phone over Bluetooth. Theoretically, this is going to require some kind of a token that the device already has, plus some other device's token. Yeah.
What happens in a world if you have a dumb phone?
No, you're not allowed to have a dumb phone.
Yeah, that's how it feels anymore.
You know, I've been watching a lot of, because my YouTube feed is now just overwhelmed with crime and courtroom stuff, because I've been watching the Johnny Depp trial. And I love watching footage of cops being interrogated and finding out. It's like, oh yeah. And they always answer the questions. Like, how can you be a cop and answer those questions when you know how that works? But I was watching a guy and he was getting investigated for texting with a minor and, sending her pictures. And they're like, yeah, we're taking that phone. How do you two-factor after that? Because he's going to bail out and go on with his life. But that phone is still going to be in custody.
You need a backup recovery thing. And Google's recovery thing's not very good.
But the phone number, can you get that transitioned away without the phone? I guess you could if you have the account.
Yeah. But it's not good for the two-factor to be linked to the actual phone number. It should be linked to the authentication account or something like that.
But not everything is.
Yeah, no.
That's a mess.
That is a mess.
Huge mess.
Don't get arrested. And for the love of God, don't give them your unlock code. This idiot did. NFTs, it's like every week there's a new stupid NFT announcement, and the hyperbole just seems to get more and more amped up. This week is no exception.
The Vatican announces it's going to open an NFT gallery to, quote-unquote, democratise art. Well, maybe we can all enjoy the art by right-clicking on it.
Yeah, okay, great.
They do have a lot of art, and it's interesting that they use the word democratise because they privately own all that art as part of their mass fortune. But
they
I
will
guess
not be giving up the original art.
No, I guess they're just going to let us look at images of it.
It's like was it the Banksy that self-immolated? Like it was on auction, and as they were auctioning it, it shredded itself.
Yeah.
That was pretty genius.
Oh right, that was supposed to be like that though, right?
Yeah, that's the whole point.
But the
Kind of
people
making
bidding
fun of
didn't
people.
know.
Yeah,
Didn't it increase the value?
it did.
Yeah, because the art world is a joke. So at least when it comes to that, and like people have been making fun of the inflated value of that kind of stuff for literally like 100 years, but the rich people don't care. They keep buying it.
Well, when it comes to systems of wildly inflated values that can just fall apart at the drop of a hat, Krista, that's an excellent lead-in, because that also describes the Chinese stock market and probably most stock markets of the world.
A Chinese man named Ma was detained. The news wiped $26 billion off of Alibaba stock.
They initially thought it was Jack Ma, but it was someone else.
A different Ma.
But that was enough, which, they point out here, CNN points out, it's like, isn't it interesting that people are so expecting Jack Ma to get disappeared that they were like, oh, it finally happened. Better sell.
It wasn't just disappeared. It was, for doing something against the state, and you read the thing, and it's like, oh, yeah, that's Jack Ma, all right? And then it's like, nope, not him. It's like, oh.
Is Ma a common surname in China?
Probably.
It's crazy that no one took the time to be like, is this the guy we're thinking of?
Well, I'm thinking if I'm a Chinese cop or a detective or something, because that stock price went right back up after they figured out it wasn't him, I'm finding the next most popular name.
Yeah.
And I'm looking to play some stocks after I arrest this guy. And then now it's like, oh, sorry, we didn't mean to do
But
that.
remember, the cops also give away their phone, so probably not that intelligent.
You could probably find someone with the exact same name, although Jack is probably not a popular first name in China.
No, you need someone with that. I think a lot of times people will take an English-sounding name when they have to do a lot of international business.
He probably changed his, right? Or just adopted
usually.
a different one. Here in the good old US of A, we've got our own mega rich people. Now, this fella's not quite on the same level as Jack Ma, and perhaps that's why he can never come back to Twitter.
MyPillow CEO Mike Lindell banned from Twitter hours after his return.
So I saw this headline, but I didn't get a chance to read this article. What did he tweet? What did he get banned for?
He was not actually unbanned. He just signed up under a different account and then amassed 35,000 followers and then was banned for ban evasion.
Ban evasion, okay.
He announced that he was evading the ban.
Yeah.
Mike's, he makes some odd decisions.
Bless his heart.
Maybe not the brightest guy. I think probably he got caught up in the Elon Musk stuff and didn't realize that hasn't happened yet. Spotify is constantly under fire by the artists. I think the consumer kind of likes Spotify because it's a fairly reasonable price and you get everything. I mean, that's a great model for the consumer, but it really upends that decade-old policy of making multi-millionaires out of musicians. They don't care for that.
Spotify CEO, you can't record music every 3 or 4 years and think that's going to be enough.
There were some heated responses. This stupid
It's your fault
truncated
I don't
tweet
pay
thing.
you.
Yeah.
They mentioned that Spotify is still not profitable, but I don't see how that could be the case.
The copyright cartel gets most of the money.
Yeah, like there's so much extra garbage heaped onto all of that because they controlled it for so long. Like the piece that you need to cut out of that isn't the artist, it's the other distribution platforms.
Yeah. If you could do Spotify and artists and there was no one else involved, which there doesn't need to be in 2022, then both of those people would be making vastly more money than they are now.
And I imagine the person who's just like, making a ton of music in their basement and putting it on there, they probably are doing better than they would have done under the old system.
Yeah.
Probably still not enough to live on, but better than what they would have done before.
Maybe if they're doing live shows too and using that to promote it.
That's usually the way most musicians work. Like, you make all your money back in merch and in live show.
But the traditional business model was they give you the album and you use that money to go on the tour, and then they use the album money to pay for the tour and pay themselves, and you end up on the other end of it with very little. Unless you're mega, mega popular. So I think this is kind of like music communism. Right? Doesn't matter how good you are, just give everybody a little bit. This is a follow-up. This gentleman was caught watching some inappropriate material on in the British Commons.
His excuse doesn't make any sense at all.
Well, it makes a little bit of sense because if you just read the headline, but do you understand like why he links the two? Yeah. So the problem is, and he points out in his confession, even if his excuse is real, the problem is he went back.
Yeah.
So he must have liked what he saw.
British lawmaker Neil Parish resigning after watching porn in the House of Commons. He initially stumbled into porn after searching for tractors.
Because there was a dominator or dominate something tractor, and then that somehow got into, I guess, dominatrix.
The tractor is sexy. So
yeah, he went back a second time though, and he's like, "Look, I'll just resign." How about that?
What's crazy is that he went back a second time while he was there.
Now,
you just make a note to look at that later on your own private time.
Part of me also wonders, is like, there's some skeletons in his closet that are so egregious that he's like, okay, look, I was looking for tractors, something went wrong, I'll resign. Don't look any deeper.
Well,
please don't look any deeper.
Just read his.
Funnily enough, it was tractors I was looking at, he told the BBC. I did get into another website that had a very similar name, and I watched it for a bit, and that's what I shouldn't have done. But my biggest crime, is that on that other occasion, I went in a second time.
Ooh.
Please don't look any deeper than that. There's definitely nothing more to this story and nothing more horrible to discover.
Why would you admit the second time?
No, they caught him both times. I think.
Okay.
Yeah. So, I mean, you could explain away the first time with the tractor, but maybe, you know what? Maybe it was just a cache on his web browser.
He was trying to auto-completed.
Yeah. Did we talked about this last week? I don't think we did the story though, did we?
We didn't.
Yeah, so I think you mentioned it about something else, but this is a terrifying new reality that's coming to us. And somebody bitched about I love it when we get comments. It's like, oh, politics, I'm gone. And then the next week, oh, politics, the same person. It's like, oh, you're gone, are you? But someone said, oh, if I hear the word globalist, I'm done. Globalism. This is globalism. It doesn't have to be political. This is globalism, and you should hate it.
To save money, Canadian company Freshii outsources cashier positions to Nicaragua.
Nope.
Nicaragua.
It's a hard word to say.
You have to see the picture here, because the first time I saw this, there was no write-ups or stories or anything about it.
This must be a paywall.
It was posted to social media. It looks just like one of those kiosks at like Panera or McDonald's or anywhere, and it was just a guy in a room talking to you to help you put your order together. In Nicaragua, making $3.25 an hour
versus the $15.50 that it would require if they hired locally in this place.
Good Lord!
So you can see why they're doing this, and you can see why, even if it's not as good an experience, it's going to stay this way.
Yeah.
Who's going to be able to afford your products if you outsource every possible job?
Yeah, the Henry Ford dynamic. I don't think they care about that.
They will eventually when they realize, oh, nothing's selling anymore.
They're probably also working on a Nicaraguan branch.
Wasn't it also ultimately good for Henry Ford in that his factory workers started buying cars with their new?
They could afford to buy. Yeah.
Overwhelmingly, almost everyone bought one, and it was a massive, because they didn't sell a lot of cars back in those days.
So is the conclusion there? Globalism bad?
I love Grady Judd's press releases. He is a hell of an entertainer. I think he's a monster and an authoritarian, but he has a great YouTube channel where he goes and he like talks about, like I was watching one the other day where it's an awful story where some kids got in a fight and they ended up running over this guy's mom. But he's very good at presenting it, but he did have to eat a little crow during this press release.
We're embarrassed. The Polk County Sheriff volunteer arrested for selling drugs out of a patrol vehicle.
As you do.
Oops.
David Roberts, an older man, I think he was 69 years old, volunteering as like a, one of these Crime Stopper type of guys. But somehow, I guess because he'd been there for so long, they gave him a cruiser and a uniform.
Listen.
That seems like an abuse.
He's over 65. He's discovering that Medicare is just, shoring up some gaps in his income.
Grady Judd is just such a showman. This was his final quote.
He's giving me pain too, but I'm not going to get any oxys for it.
He sold oxys to an undercover from the police car.
Wow. Also, there's a rip current statement on this Tampa Bay website.
Yeah, that's interesting. We get the red flag warnings. They get rip current. That's right on the bay. They're down there in the Tampa Bay. I was not incredibly aware of how popular plastic grass was, apparently. But
why are the bees dying? Who could guess?
Well, the answer, Krista, is because we don't want our children to get muddy.
Eden Project installs plastic grass to stop children getting muddy. Let your kids get muddy.
This is like the first time Wesley Crusher was sentenced to death.
Why? You should look into there's a thing called like natural playgrounds where it's literally just like fallen logs and tall grass and basically making little nature preserves just for kids to play in. That's what we should be doing.
Krista, how many ticks are they going to get?
I got a tick yesterday. Second one of the season.
If you had plastic grass, you wouldn't have had that.
Yeah, but I wouldn't have had any bees either.
Now, they talked to some, of course, lawn care people, which obviously are going to have a bias against plastic grass. But they claimed that there have been times when they've gone to take up plastic grass after people didn't like it, and everything under it was dead.
Yeah, there's no air. It drops the air. There's nothing.
And there was a terrible stench under it, they said, of death.
That's how you kill, like they call it solarization. That's how you kill grass when you're going to lay something else. They
were talking about like worms and voles and everything.
Everything died, yeah.
Which, that might be good for getting rid of groundhogs and moles and stuff like that.
But at what cost?
And some pests in your garden are adorable.
This is so cute. I dropped my phone. It's fine. Don't look at it.
And imagine how, I was just sitting here thinking, like, I hope somebody gave him a bowl of water.
Yeah.
Because he's got this massive buffet in front of him, nothing to drink.
Wild Rabbit raids the garden section at a Colorado Walmart.
My favorite part of this is it looks like his little eyebrow. Like he's angry. Like, don't say anything, snitch. But he's enjoying that.
Yeah.
Rabbits look so chill when they eat.
Yeah. I haven't had any issues with rabbits in my garden. I suspect that will come eventually.
You probably have enough natural predators in your area.
Yeah, definitely. Between the barn cats and the hawks and everything else. Coyotes.
There is a YouTube channel of a guy, I can't remember what his name is. I think he's in Texas. But this guy, he just goes to city council meetings and he does these characters, and usually they're like over the top liberal characters, and he's lampooning, the ridiculous things that are in the world right now. But I guess there's some kind of rule that they have to let him talk.
Yeah, it's true of any kind of public opinion thing.
He's got a really successful YouTube channel of just going and doing these characters. This was not that. This was more, I guess, politically motivated, but it's definitely some showmanship here.
Yeah. Man dressed as poop emoji lets off stink bomb at city council meeting.
Look at him. There's a good video there.
This was in Oriendale?
Oklahoma.
Not Maryland.
Oklahoma City, it says at the top.
But yeah, you're right. No, it says Maryland at the bottom there. Police in Maryland. Why is Oklahoma
running this story? I guess this is probably paywall.
It was a slow news day.
It's a nonsense story, right? You can do that as a universal.
It's unlikely he will face any charges.
So he is he's one of these guys who does keep eye on cops and reports them when they violate our rights every single day. And the city organized an official body to do that and kept him out of it. So his assumption was, you're not really going to do that, are you?
And then he got video evidence of them not doing. No, I don't know. It'll be interesting to see how that plays out.
He may be a bit unhinged.
Better person to put in charge.
I also see a lot of those videos where people, they just it's crazy how they violate the Constitution. Yeah. And then you watch the follow-up and it's they had to go to required re-education or something like that for 2 weeks. Really?
2 weeks,
that's all?
They were on a month-long paid vacation.
It's disgusting. And what else is disgusting is unsolved crimes. How terrible if you're murdered and you have to wait decades before anyone finds you, and honestly, I don't think they're going to be able to identify you.
Body and barrel discovered at Lake Mead is likely a gunshot murder victim from decades ago, the 1970s, police say. So Lake Mead's just outside Vegas. Vegas is known for its gang activity, and the water level is at historic lows.
And by historic lows, we mean potentially catastrophic by the end of the year lows.
And when you say gang, you mean organized crime.
Yeah.
I think in the modern parlance, gangs are like street gangs.
Oh, yeah. I guess this is
organized
Chicago
crime.
mobster.
Yeah.
Well, mafia obviously doesn't exist.
Yeah.
But if it did, then maybe something like this. Also, look at the white at the
Yeah,
bottom
that's
of that.
all where the water should be way higher than what it is.
So doesn't that indicate a rapid descent of water?
Yes.
Well, then we do the story where the pipe is uncovered now. It's like they had to build a new intake way lower down. How about the fact that the problem was, hey guys, we're out of lake water. What should we do?
Yeah, well, there's talk that they're gonna have to like cut off, like do brownouts by the end of the year if the water doesn't go up.
Oh, from the hydroelectric?
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, the answer was, we're out of water. Oh, let's just tunnel deeper.
That's bad news if you live out west right now. Let's hope.
Krista, how did that go when they did that in Lord of the Rings? How did that turn out?
When they kept delving too greedily and too deep, nothing good. Nothing good happened to the dwarves of Moria.
And nothing good is happening on Google. Of course, we had the hilarious filter issue with Google Docs where they were trying to find bad things on Google, and they ended up finding blank things and just oddly attacking different things. This one is in the same vein of, how did this happen?
Including and in a Google Doc causes it to crash. Guess we're going to find out if that happens with the auto captions as well.
That totally worked. I tested this last night when we were adding news stories. I opened a new document, and if you copy paste that in, it does indeed. It's like, I can't read this document. And it's case sensitive as well. It has to be and all capitals.
Oh, the subtitles will lowercase it. That'll save it.
Mm.
That's why the automated testing didn't catch it. It's because it was auto lowercase.
That's bizarre.
This came out 24 hours ago. Do you think some Google engineer got this in his inbox this morning?
Yeah, so I haven't tested it today. We're filming this on a Friday, so hopefully it's fixed by the time you guys see it. But
his weekend's going to suck. That'll be a hard one to find, maybe.
It said that it was also doing it with but. So but.
Well, I didn't test that one. I just tested and.
This is a sad follow-up. We followed the story of this man who got a pig heart, and everything was going well, and he had a new lease on life. It was like one of those miracle stories where somebody walks again or hears again, and you're like, oh, man, I feel good about that, because what if it happens to me? Now there's hope. But
the gene-edited pig heart given to a dying patient was infected with a pig virus. So the heart did really well at first, and then not so much, and they figured it out too late, and he died.
Terrible.
Yeah, I find it weird that they didn't vet for this virus, but maybe it doesn't appear quickly enough. Like, it takes a while for it to grow in heart muscle.
Yeah. Seems like they could have done maybe a little bit more effort there.
He didn't have a pig immune system, so a little bit of a problem there.
Oh.
Well, Krista, we've learned that from you that Ulta is kind of a high-end cosmetic type of deal, right?
Not really. Like, I mean, it has some high-end brands, but I'd say it's more like middle of the road.
Okay. It's kind of like the Kroger of
Yeah, a little bit. Yeah,
cosmetics.
they have a salon in there, yeah.
But they are looking to get people to come into the physical store, right? They probably like do little demos and stuff.
Yeah, you can test all the cosmetics out.
So they want you to come in and hang out and look at their products. And so they did some press releases, but they probably didn't do enough research for this one.
Ulta Beauty apologizes for come hang with Kate Spade perfume promo email. The designer died by suicide when she hanged herself in 2018.
Yeah. Yeah, I feel like that the agency probably should have known that, but then, you know.
That's this is probably an issue where they're not doing their own tweets, right? They're hiring a marketing agency, and the marketing agency didn't bother to actually learn about the business.
Yeah.
They're just like, oh, we know marketing.
I think it's the word come hang out.
Yeah, hang is definitely the problem there. Because, you know, Kate.
It's Kate Spade the fragrance, not Kate Spade the person.
They have a whole bunch of stuff. Like, they have teapots, and that's a big brand.
Oh, Kate Spade, you mean?
Yeah. Purses are a big thing too.
Who was she?
Just a designer. And she did like polka dot stuff and brightly colored stuff. My friend has one of her teapots, that's why I know who she is, but I didn't know they did cosmetics either.
Well, if you are a collector of old books, maybe run through the library, take a quick peek, see if you got any of these classics. You could probably sell them for quite a bit because they're trying to get them out of rotation.
These green books are poisonous and may be on a shelf near you. A toxic green pigment was once used to color everything from fake flowers to book covers. Now a museum conservator is working to track down the noxious volumes.
This is common in a lot of Victorian wallpapers as well.
Yes.
It was like a sign of wealth if you had brightly colored walls, so people would do anything to get cool wallpaper colors. And
when we were doing the renovation downstairs, we exposed a wall that had arsenic-containing wallpaper.
Ooh.
Yeah.
Oh, you have to put in an email. Sales at National Geographic. Thanks for signing up.
You're welcome. Enjoy that spam. Sales at nationalgeographic.com. So here it is, Emerald Green, which is a hot track by Port Noir, one of my Spotify discoveries. And they say touching it, not that big a deal if you were to ingest one of these books.
Very bad.
Don't eat the wallpaper.
But it's not just on the outside either. They had some of the like illuminated texts where they'd use that, so the pages themselves could also have the poison.
Not good.
Neat.
Oh.
Yeah, Firefox has that button, and I think that starts playing something, right? Yeah.
Yeah.
I hate that button. Make that button go
This is
away.
why they're third place.
And yeah. And our final story is another fun animal story, and this one has to do with animals who are just not dealing with us. This is their world, and we should yield to them.
Pelican briefly delays San Diego flight with airfield standoff. It's literally a tiny pelican, and the pilot's like, what? I guess, I don't know. I don't want it to get sucked into the engine.
That would be terrible. They brought an SUV and moved it right up, and you imagine they were honking the horn. There's no audio, but that pelican wasn't going anywhere.
Yeah, he's just, I don't care. It's like pigeons in this town. Like, you can just walk right up to a pigeon and they're like, yeah, I don't care.
He eventually left, but yeah, I think he proved his point. He let them know who was in charge.
I could stop this airport in one moment.
At least we were able to avoid another Tiananmen Square style.
He disappears, never to be seen again.
At some point, you got to think they would have done something, right?
Well, it's a little more horrific if you see the viscera of the pelican being sucked into a jet engine, and then the output at the rear of the jet engine.
Although I do think they build those turboprops and turbofans to survive one of those, right?
Yeah, they do.
They might lose a blade.
That's a fun joke too. Is it's like, no, I think we're gonna have to recall the whole fleet. We're doing the testing and everything is failing catastrophically, and the engineer's like, what do you mean? It's like we've been testing birds going into the engine, and it just completely destroys the engine. All right, I'll go take a look. And the engineer goes down and takes a look at what they've been doing, and it turns out that you don't shoot frozen birds into the engine. You have to let them thaw.
Well, that wouldn't work anyway because you got to simulate the feathers and the beak.
Well, frozen corpses, I guess, is whatever they were doing. It's like they were shooting the frozen things into the engine, which acts like just like a bullet, and it was destroying everything.
What a fun job. Hey, Steve, we're going to go down and freeze some bird corpses and then bring the air cannon.
Yeah, I mean, basically, that's how they were testing it. And no one told the other people, like, let the birds thaw out first.
Isn't it more realistic if they're thawed?
You know, that happens every year, that somebody, usually in media, blows up a frozen turkey at Thanksgiving.
That always ends very badly.
Yeah, that's a big fire.
Yeah. Because it vaporizes the oil, and then the oil can't wait to catch on fire.
And then, but also a ton of pressure.
There's usually a compilation of those after Thanksgiving every year, where it's like people starting grease fires from.
The fire department loves to film a demo of that every year. It's like, can't we just, Bill, can't we just use last year's demo? No, we got.
No, we gotta do another one.
The birds are different this year. They're more flammable. All right.
That's enough news. Go sign up for Linode using our $100 coupon link below.
We love you and we appreciate you and we're thinking about you every day and night. Bye!